Good evening. Thank you for coming back this evening. If it is a return trip for you, thank you for being here if it's not. If you would, go ahead and make your way to Hosea, the first of the minor prophets. Damon, I found that joke we were talking about. I copied it down on this paper, and I can tell it. But thinking about it, I don't know that I want to tell it open. I don't think it'll send the right message with what we got going on tonight. So I got it written down for you. I'll give it to you later. Hosea is a book of prophecy written down by Hosea because the word of the Lord has come to him. And he is, in my mind, the worst but clearest picture in the Old Testament of the message he's trying to portray. Mark and I were texting about what we're preaching on today and what we were working on to preach on, and I said, "What you got about Hosea?" And he called me. He said, "I can't text it." In Mark's estimation, Hosea, especially in the 3rd chapter where we will be, is the clearest picture of the cross before you actually get to Jesus dying on it. And that's more clearly explained in his opinion, and I think he's right, than even in Genesis 22 where Abraham is to sacrifice Isaac. Jeremy, I could not come up with a map, so I got you a chart. Hosea was a prophet to the northern kingdom, and the time frame we're looking at is around 750 years before Christ, or 750 BC. David has been dead a couple of hundred years at this point. I'm going to read through the entire 3rd chapter, all 5 verses of it, and I've got it split on the screen in the 2 halves that the chapter itself is written in. The first 3 verses pertain to Hosea, to Gomer, to Israel, and to Christians. But the 4th and 5th verses are more about Israel and Christians than it is about Hosea and Gomer. And the word of the Lord said to me, "Go again, love a woman who is loved by another man and is an adulteress, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, though they turn to other gods and love cakes of raisins. So I bought her for 15 shekels of silver and a homer and a lethech of barley. And I said to her, you must dwell as mine for many days. You shall not play the whore or belong to another man. So will I also be to you. For the children of Israel shall dwell many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or pillar, without ephod or household gods. Afterward, the children of Israel shall return to seek the Lord their God, and David their king, and they shall come to fear the Lord and to his goodness in the latter days." Go again. Hosea has already married Gomer. There are several commentaries and scholars that will tell you that whenever they were married, Gomer was a woman of purity. But that doesn't match well with our Bible. Our Bible in the 1st chapter, Hosea is told to go and take a wife of whoredom. That's what kind of woman he's supposed to look for. And it even gives the name of her father to complete the shame. Interesting note as to why it includes the name of the father. His name means 2 cakes of raisins. We'll get to the raisins part in a minute. I know some of you read different words than that in your own translations. This has got to be one of the top 5 hardest commands that man has ever had to respond to God about. I put it up there with go sacrifice your son, and the faith that Abraham had to count Isaac as already dead. I would count it with the command for Jesus to live as a man and to die as our sacrifice. I would count it as hard as for Noah to be told to go ahead and enter the ark, knowing that when he opened the door, no one would ever be there. To go and marry a prostitute. It's not past tense. When the Lord first spoke through Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea, Go take yourself a wife of whoredom and have children of whoredom. None of the children are going to be his, or at least they won't be known to be his. And I think that your Bible is telling you that they're not his children at all. And yet he will be living with them. In Hosea chapter 2, when the discussion of divorce comes up, because of the infidelity that exists within the marriage, the children again are labeled as not his. One of them even being named, You're not mine. So when we actually get to Hosea chapter 3, it is that he is also to return and to again dwell with her as his wife, but things are slightly different when we get there. She is with another man at this time, and we're told even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, so they turn to other gods and love cakes of raisins. Depending on which translation you're in, this is a lot of different things, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. So some of the offerings for translators have given us our raisin cakes, which technically is different than cakes of raisins. I'll get there. Sacred raisin cakes, which is probably closer. Flagons of wine, which is probably right. And then raisin cakes of the pagans. The New Living Translation takes out the raisins altogether and just says worship of other gods. And the oldest English translation says dregs of grapes. The point is typically that it's wine. When the other gods are worshipped, it turns into a group sex session. And the easiest way to get people to lower their inhibitions is for them to enjoy wine before they get after things, as it were. Cakes of raisins are what it would be called. However, there is no cooking process that is involved. They're just all smushed together like a trail mix bar of sorts. And in verse 2, he's told to buy her back. So he goes to buy her back. There's a purchase price that needs to be given. Before we get to going through the 15 shekels of silver, the homer, and the lethek of barley, we look back to establish a slave price, because this is going to tell you about what is near to how much he spent to buy his own wife back. Exodus 21 verse 32, a slave can be redeemed or purchased or paid for if they are killed by payment of 30 shekels of silver. The exact monetary value doesn't matter to us at this moment. We're going to talk about the relative value thereof. So there's two ways to look at it. Before we get there. 1 homer is equal to 10 ephahs, and 1 lethek is equal to 5 ephahs. Damon, are you taking notes? This is like a math class. What we're doing right now is we're lining up our integers for whichever one's on the bottom. We're solving for ephahs right here. 1 homer is 10. A lethek is half of that, is about 5. We're talking about 15 ephahs. So if the price is 15 shekels for Gomer, then what he is being told, or what he is needing to pay, is she is valued at half the price of a slave. She's not even worth a whole slave. And on top of that, there are going to be the 15 ephahs of barley. The most straight and direct path here is she's worth half a slave, and this is reimbursement for anything that she ate while she was living with the other individual. The bartered style, I consider it the more convoluted style, but that's just me, is that we still start with half of the price of a slave, but then we go with the 15 ephahs of barley, which you should take and later sell for 1 shekel of silver apiece. And now we actually do have 30 shekels of silver eventually, and we've made up the full price of a slave. I would think I would want to be valued more than a slave. And yet, she is valued, if you try the hardest, almost at the price of a slave. But in reality, it's probably the 15 shekels, because she's worth only about half of that. And here's reimbursement for anything she ate while she was in your care. But either way, we're still talking about an inferior slave on the best estimation that we can have. This time, things have to be different. For Gomer, she is not allowed to go and to do whatever it is that she would please. In the 3rd verse, you must dwell as mine for many days. You shall not play the whore or belong to another man, so will I be to you. But if you look back in that first chapter there, in verse 2, it's a wife of whoredom, have children of whoredom. The land is acting in this way. And she's not stopped from doing that. He doesn't tell her to quit her night job. The reason for the many days works because of the command given in Deuteronomy 21. And we spoke about this briefly this morning in our class about marrying the spoils of war. She is to be considered like that, as in the land has been conquered. She can be redeemed as a wife. So starting in the 10th verse there, when you go out to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God gives them into your hand, and you take them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you desire to take her to be your wife, and bring her home to your house, she shall shave her head and par her nails, and she shall take off her clothes in which she was captured, and shall remain in your house, and lament her father and mother a full month. After that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. Damon, par her nails, because I had to look it up. It means to get them done. Push the cuticles back. She got a manicure. It is what that means. I didn't know that. They all do. And so this is what she is told to do. New hair, new nails, new clothes, new family, and new home. In essence, it is a whole new you. It's brand new. And you don't get to play the whore anymore. You belong to, and exclusively to, Hosea. Then we get into that other section. Verses 4 and 5. Verse 4, the children of Israel shall dwell many days without king or prince or sacrifice or pillar or ephod or households. You probably noticed already, these are done in groupings. There's 2 and 2 and 2. King and prince, sacrifice, pillar, ephod, household gods. Your translation may say teraphim. The king is the national leader. Princes stand for local leadership or magistrates over specific areas. Sacrifice is the items of offering worship. A pillar is a place to worship. An ephod is what the high priest wore. And the household gods are in there as the Urim and the Thummim. Now, those are in the Old Testament. They're not talked about too much. They're basically a yes stone and a no stone. And they stay inside the vest of the high priest. And when you come up and ask the high priest a question, it is the answer for you, because if it's not easy to understand what the answer would be and to judge, you would ask God. He would put his hand into his vest. He'd pull out one of the stones, and it was either the yes stone or the no stone. I don't know which one of these is yes and no. So if he pulled out this one, the answer was no. And you could leave knowing that the Lord had allowed the high priest to prophesy that the answer for you was no. This is what's going to happen. Remember, I said it's only a couple hundred years after David was king. Now the kingdom is split. Eventually, they're going to be taken off. In about 175 years, they're all going to go away to captivity. And when they come back, actually at that point when they go, they will have no king. They will have no prince. Well, let's do it on the other side. They'll have no national leader, and they never will again. Israel will never have another king after they've been taken off into captivity. They will have no local leaderships or magistrates. The closest that you get is Sennacherib with the book of Nehemiah. They will have no sacrifice that they can offer because they have no high priest. They have nowhere to take the sacrifice to make the sacrifice, and they have no high priest to offer it, even if they could come up with their sacrifice. And they have no way of knowing what yes is. They have no yes is yes. They have their no. They have no means no. This is how the children of Israel will be. It doesn't really work so well for Christians, though. Because if we wanted to work with it, we would say, well, Jesus is our king, right? We could sing that song. And Prince, that might be the elders or the preacher. I see where you're headed. The problem is once we get back to sacrifice, we've got the same king as we do sacrifice, and then he has to also be the high priest again. We're told that in Hebrews. And the reason it doesn't work is because it's not made to fit this. This is what is told to the children of Israel. And what we're supposed to learn instead, and not that we lose all of these things, what we're supposed to learn is they should have done what they were supposed to do in the first place. And so should we. It's not because we've got the mercy and the grace of Jesus that we get to enter into all kinds of frivolity. We shouldn't be doing that. It falls apart here because Jesus tells Pilate one thing that wipes all of this out. He says, my kingdom is not of this world. So these rules don't apply. They do apply spiritually speaking. Afterward, the children of Israel shall return and seek the Lord their God. They did that. The remnant were offered. You could stay in Babylon. You could stay and just have been moved out. You've got nothing. It's been 70 years since you were taken captive, or probably your parents were taken captive. David is going to be not available for them. That's their big king to unite under. But Jesus is for us. He sits on the throne of David. And they shall come to fear the Lord and to his goodness in the latter days. I don't know why it's written like that. I looked at it 10 times. I'm sorry, now I can't even read it. But what we can understand from this is while they do not have those things that were taken away from them, that what is eternally true is that no matter who and no matter when people seek God, they will find Him. And He will find them. David's been dead about 200 years. This is an obvious allusion to Christ, or one who will sit on the throne like David did, that the kingdom will be like it was then. And the words latter days are used here and will again be used in the New Testament to describe the messianic dispensation, which is also called the age of the church, which is also known as everything from when Jesus went back to heaven until he comes back from heaven. It's now. That in these days, that we should seek after a king like David, that we should seek after God knowing that he will come to us. In Hosea chapter 1 verse 2, we're told that what is going to be represented by Gomer is the land. Go take yourself a wife of whoredom and have children of whoredom, for the land commits great whoredom. But whenever it's take her back, she is to represent the people of the land. Go again, love a woman who is loved by another man and is an adulteress, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel. Galatians is the book who ties those together, or Galatians is the letter written by Paul that ties together the concepts of the physical Israel with the spiritual Israel, saying in chapter 3 and verse 27 that we have to put on Christ in baptism, and in chapter 4, I think it's verse 4, that we can then call God Father or Dad, Abba. The reason that this is such a clear picture of the cross is not because we see Hosea being put to death, martyred. It's not because Hosea is out very much. It's because Gomer is a detestable, sin-riddled, heroin junkie, syphilitic whore. And that's you in your sin. How much more clearly can the picture be painted for us of what sin does to our soul? It's gross. And the worst trick that's ever been played on us is it's what we want most. Because we don't think it's gross, we think it's fun, we think it's good, we think it's entertaining, we think it's valuable, except that it puts us in a state where we have no value. And the only redemption we have is someone, a God who said, you have enough value that I will even die for you. And that's love. Homer Haley writes of this book, the nation's sin was that of idolatry, by which she had committed spiritual adultery and whoredom. The kingdom would be destroyed, the nation scattered, Jezreel, that's one of the children. They would be without mercy, lo ruhama, not God's people, lo ami. But the time would come when they would be gathered together, sown to Jehovah, Jezreel. They would become God's people, Ami, and would obtain mercy, Ruhama. For many days they would be without true worship, but the time would come when they would seek Jehovah under David, Christ, and in him find their fullness of all spiritual blessings in the latter days. Now, it's the grossest way and the most appropriate or applicable way for us to understand what sin does to us. That's why the joke's inappropriate. Because this ain't funny.